been a while since I've done one of these videos, but I think following my return from holiday, it's about time that maybe I did. I've got a few COVID questions. Now, for anyone who used to listen to my radio show, you'll know that I've got many questions. I don't believe in a lot of the things that I said. And we have dialogue with people all the time and debates. Does it exist? Does it not exist? Is it exaggerated? Is it not exaggerated? Then we get into the vaccine. Do we need a vaccine? Do we believe in a vaccine? I'm not vaccinated. People trying to force the vaccinations on me. No, you must be vaccinated. It's because of you where people are dying. Is it really? I've just come back from holiday. My brother's vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated. When you go on holiday, you have to pay for 4 tests. On top of whatever you pay for your holiday, you've got to pay for 4 tests. A PCR test before you leave this country. Then you have to be tested before you leave the other country and prove that you paid for 2 tests. That when you return to this country, you'll be tested twice. Now, I have massive issues with these tests. If in everyday life, we're taking lateral flow tests. Oh, you can't come in here, have you been tested? Let's do a lateral flow test. Oh, it's negative, okay, you can come in. Why are we trusting these lateral flow tests if they're no good? Oh no, you must take a PCR test. Why? Because the lateral flow tests are no good. Then why are we using it every single day then? Now these PCR tests, they are free. If you find that you're ill, you don't feel good, you need to take a PCR test, free. But if you're going on holiday, you've got to pay for it. I'll give you a little bit of a tip. If you are going on holiday, don't pay for that first PCR test. Just call up, let's say 4 days in advance of your holiday and say, oh, I don't feel well, I've got these symptoms. They'll say, when did the symptoms start? Tell them 2 or 3 days ago. They'll say, okay, book a test. You book your test, just make sure you book your test within 72 hours of your flight. You'll get your results. That's your PCR test. Helpful tip from me. We then have to take a test when we leave the other country. I've just come back from Jamaica to prove that we don't have COVID. And then take 2 tests when you get back to England. Here's the issue I've got. I have a box of over 100 antigen tests. When in Jamaica, I then had to book for a professional antigen test. I then had to book for 2 professional antigen tests to be sent to my home. The test in Jamaica cost me £30, and these tests I managed to find the cheapest I got was £80. Now, I have antigen tests, the same test that I had to pay for. Why can't I use them? Well, I asked the person in Jamaica. She said, oh, the test is okay, but it needs to be certified by a medical doctor. That would be good if this girl who carried out my test was a medical doctor. This girl has no medical certificate whatsoever. She don't know the difference between a syringe and a sarong. To the point where she didn't even do my test properly. So the person who is carrying out these tests isn't even a medical person. But the reason that you have to take these antigen tests is because it has to be certified by a medical professional. Yeah. Before I left England, I had to do a PCR test. Me and my son went to the drive-thru and did the PCR test ourselves. Nose, mouth. It came back negative. Did we do it properly? Did we do it at all? Who knows? Who cares? I'm now back in England and I paid for 2 more antigen tests. Remember, I have these tests at home already. So it's quite obvious that this is a con. Trying to get people's money. I have antigen tests here. So what did I do with the 2 antigen tests that arrived? I've used the first one for day 2. Day 8 hasn't happened yet. So day 2, what did I do? I took the swab, I wet the swab, stuck it under my armpit, put it back in the tube and sent it on its way. I'm waiting to hear back from these people. Now, for all these people out there going to say, oh no, you're not doing the test properly, you might have COVID, you're putting us all at risk. I have antigen tests at home, hundreds of them, and I'm negative. But I just want to see what happens when you get a test with armpit hairs in it. Are they going to call me? Oh, hello, yeah, your test doesn't seem quite right. No. And so what am I going to do for day 8? Day 8, I'm not going to do the test at all. Will they call me and chase me up? Or will they not bother considering they've already got their money? Now, this is not me saying that COVID doesn't exist. It's not me saying that it shouldn't be taken seriously. But if it should be taken seriously, surely you should have serious people administering tests, not random idiots like me or the silly girl in Jamaica who definitely doesn't know anything about medical studies. I know she doesn't. She told me she doesn't. It's her job, and I know she didn't do it properly. You have the quarantine when you get back to England, 10 days. Did you know that after day 2, you have to take a test? After day 8, you have to take a test. And after your 10th day, you're free. But did you know you can pay money after day 5 to cut your quarantine in half? Are they so worried about people catching COVID that you can just pay them to leave your house and not quarantine anymore? When I argue about these COVID things, I don't use any medical science information. I don't go into any research. I just go with basic common sense. And basic common sense tells me that the government aren't taking this seriously. And why are the government not taking it that seriously? I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but you tell me. But if you're very serious about people being tested for something, are you going to trust that people that have got no clue what they're doing can test themselves? Are you going to allow people that should be in quarantine for a certain amount of time to keep the nation safe can just pay you a little bit extra and leave? Really? After I got back, I heard the Scottish Prime Minister receive one of those pings on her phone to say that you've been in close contact with somebody who had COVID and she needs to quarantine for 10 days. But she took a PCR test on day 2 and left her house because it was negative. Apparently, these tests don't prove that you don't have COVID. But if that's the case, how come she can leave? And if she can leave, why am I still in quarantine for 10 days? You could take a test and it come out negative. Apparently that doesn't prove anything. When's the last time you took a test, passed the test, and they told you, it doesn't prove anything? Take your driving test, park up. Congratulations, sir, you passed. But it doesn't mean you can drive. What? You stupid. You can take a COVID test, show that you haven't got COVID, but having passed that test, it doesn't prove that you haven't got COVID. Let's talk about the vaccine. My brother has taken the vaccine. I haven't taken the vaccine. I don't want to take the vaccine. Even if they do offer me free taxi rides, free kebabs, free tours of Arsenal Stadium, I don't want the vaccine. But my brother's taken it. And on our holiday, I had to pay for 4 tests. My vaccinated brother, having had 2 jabs, still had to pay for 3 tests. Where's the benefit of the vaccination? We were almost red listed in Jamaica. I was so scared. I thought we're going to go into red list and we're going to have to go into one of those quarantine centres. My brother, having been vaccinated, if he had travelled home from a red list country, even with his vaccination, he would still be carted off into one of those quarantine centres. But you're vaccinated. How does that make sense? Now, I'm not trying to force anybody's hand, I'm not trying to shove any words down anyone's throat, but can someone tell me how any of this stuff makes sense? I don't have the answers, but I always say, you know what? Just make it make sense.